Yes, students, in the previous class, you saw what is data mining. Data mining is the process of extracting interesting information or meaningful information out of huge volumes of data from the cloud. You also saw with an example how you fetch the data about Amrita University from Google search engine. What you are doing, you are trying to extract the data from the cloud. Cloud is nothing but a hidden network. So whatever you are doing on your mobile or laptop or any desktop, any machine, whatever you are doing, you are computing with electronic gadgets, all systems are connected to the cloud and you are digging out of a lot of things from the cloud database. So what is data mining? It is a technique of extracting meaningful information from huge volumes of database from the cloud. So it is also known as knowledge discovery in data, KDD. So it automatically extracts the data, summarizes the data. It gives the meaningful data for the user by discovering the interesting patterns from the raw data. So now, yes, this is the same. You saw this already in the previous class. So here data mining, there are different types of data mining, including pictorial data mining, text data mining, social media data mining, web mining, audio and video mining, etc. There are different data mining techniques like clustering, association rule, classification, prediction, and sequential patterns. What is clustering? What is clustering? It is an unsupervised learning method. It segregates the data points which are having similar characteristics into group. It's a process of grouping the data items of similar characteristics into clusters. And clustering algorithms look for similarities or dissimilarities and accordingly groups them. And since it is an unsupervised learning method, there is no label associated with the data points, or there are no labels associated with the features in the data set. And algorithm, what it does, all it does is it finds out the meaningful data from the database. So there are three techniques basically in clustering. First one is partition based clustering. Second, hierarchical clustering. Third, density based clustering. What is partition based clustering? Here in this technique, clustering data set is divided into many number of partitions. I think you already know the meaning of k-means very vaguely. So we will go more in detail in k-means in the coming classes. Partition based clustering. Second, hierarchical clustering. There are two types of hierarchical clustering, that is agglomerative clustering and divisive clustering. Here in second one, what we do, we take a huge database and we divide that into a hierarchical structure of clusters. So agglomerative is bottom up clustering and divisive is top down clustering. Third one is density based clustering. Density based clustering is also called DB-scan. We are studying all these four in the clustering technique. So here clustering analysis is basically an unsupervised learning method which looks for the similarities among the data points and groups them accordingly. And what it does, basically first algorithm calculates the similarities and then groups them into bunches. Clustering and association rule in data mining. You already saw this cluster association rule. What is clustering? Clustering is dividing the data points into different groups where each group has data points which are of the same characteristics. What is association rule data mining? Association rule, it finds the relationship between the attributes of those data points. It means you are already into one particular cluster and you are trying to find out the interesting relationship among the data points within the cluster. You saw this in the previous class. So now we'll go about clustering more in detail. Yes. So now you all know that there is a new product from Apple, that is Apple iPhone. Apple is launching iPhone 13, right? It has all advanced new features. Like it has 128 GB of storage, 256 GB of storage, 512 GB of storage. That is, for all these three models are sold at 80,000, 90,000, 1,20,000, like that. Now, suppose you are a marketing manager of Apple and you have this product to sell out, and you are pretty much sure that the product would this iPhone 13 would bring huge profit to the company as long as it is sold to the right customers or right people. So how do you tell who will be best suited for the iPhone 14 from your company's huge customer base? Right? So how to solve this challenging task? So the obvious solution is to go for clustering. Apple doesn't know which all customers should be targeted to sell its products in order to generate revenue for the company. So what it does, the developers go for clustering approach. So what this clustering does, it utilizes input data. Okay, it takes the input data customer database and determines the patterns, anomalies or similarities in the input data set. So here a clustering algorithm, a good clustering algorithm tries to find out the clusters whose intra-cluster similarities are high. What does it mean? It implies that the data points present in the cluster are similar to one another. They are all of same characteristics. Inter-cluster similarity is low. It means each cluster holds data that is not similar to other data. Apple has customers in UK, Apple has customers in US, in India. So accordingly, based on the customer's interest, customers' purchasing patterns, the clusters are formed. So there is another definition of clustering. It is a connected region of multi-dimensional space with a comparatively high density of objects. Next, applications of cluster analysis, applications of clustering. So clustering analysis is widely used in many applications such as data analysis, market research, pattern recognition, image processing, and even marketing people can categorize their customers using clustering. Just now we saw that it is also used in tracking applications such as credit card fraud detection. And in terms of biology, it is used to determine plant and animal taxonomies or grouping the genes with the same functionalities, etc. So requirements for clustering. Scalability. What is the scalability? What do you mean by this? Here, we need highly scalable clustering algorithms to work with large databases. That is, scalability with respect to clustering means that as we keep on adding more number of data points to the database, the time required to perform clustering should be approximately equal to the complexity order of the algorithm. Okay. So here you can see in this figure, what this figure shows. This is the clustering before scaling. This is the clustering after scaling. What does it mean? It means data should be scalable. Data should be scalable. If it is not scalable, then we cannot get the required result or we cannot get the appropriate result. So here this figure shows the graphical example where it may give the wrong result. There is a shift, there is a phase shift from before scaling to after scaling. So obviously it gives us the wrong result. So data should be highly scalable. Second, interpretability. It means the output of clustering algorithm should be interpretable, usable, comprehensible. And third one is discovery of clusters with attribute shape. So it means algorithm should be able to form the clusters of any shape. They should not be limited to clusters of small sizes. Algorithm should be able to deal with different types of attributes. It means algorithm should be able to handle the data sets which are numerical, categorical, or binary data. And algorithm should be able to deal with noisy data. Noisy data in the sense even missing data or incorrect data. Last one is high dimensionality. It means algorithms should be able to work well for smaller data sets as well as high dimensional data sets. That is high dimensionality. It should be able to deal with high dimensional data sets. Yes, one group is treated as a cluster of data objects in the beginning. Okay, before the process begins, one huge data set, whether it is labeled data set, whether okay, it is unlabeled data set. So first that unlabeled data set is taken as one cluster. Then we partition the data set into different groups by looking at the similarity. Okay, and the biggest advantage of clustering is it can adapt to the changes. That is, if we keep on adding more data points to the algorithm, it also keeps changing. It also keeps giving the results. It is adaptable to the changes. So there are different methods, clustering methods: model-based method, hierarchical, constraint-based, grid-based, partitioning, density-based method. So in this, in your syllabus, you are studying hierarchical-based and density-based method. So next is hierarchical clustering. What is hierarchical? What do you find from this? What do you understand by this method? Yes.
Ma'am, first is a car, ma'am. Generally, it is classifying it as a car.
Okay.
Then in
Okay.
the second stage, it is seeing the size of the car. The first
See,
left
you are
side.
targeting the second diagram, right? I think you are fond of cars.
No, no, ma'am, not like that. But
Yes.
the second layer is the left side is sedan model and the right side is SUV model.
Okay.
And from that it is again classifying.
Yes,
It
that's it.
is the left side cars are blue in color, and the right side cars are in different color.
Yes. Here, initially we have a data set of cars of different types. Okay. Now we want to group the cars. We want to group similar cars uh, together. Okay. Now look at this diagram. Here we have four cars, and the types are sedan and SUV, right? So now what you have to do? You have to group those cars into similar characteristics. Look at the similarity of these cars, and accordingly you put them into clusters. So here initially we have all cars. Looking at the similarities, we divided this data, we separated this data into two clusters. Okay, two clusters. Now here we end up getting sedan cars, and we end here SUVs. Next, in the second cluster, again we bifurcate this cluster into two separate cars. So what we are doing here, this is showing the top-down approach. We are taking a huge data set and keep on partitioning based on the similarity, and finally we end up with each data point considered as a cluster. So how many hierarchies are there in this top level structure? There are three layers: 1, 2, and 3. So initially you have a big data set, and towards the leaf nodes you are having each data point. Each data point is treated as a cluster. Similarly, this diagram also, A, B, C, D, E, based on some distance metrics, the alphabets are divided. Again, they are divided into different hierarchies. So this is a hierarchical clustering. So how this hierarchical clustering is studied from the algorithm. So output of the algorithm is studied using a graphical structure called dendrogram. Don't get confused with dendrogram. It is a dendrogram. So what is this? It is a tree structure which shows how the objects are related to each other. It shows the relationship between the objects, and it can be used as a top down or bottom up tree based on the type of algorithm in the clustering. So here it is a tree. It's showing the hierarchical clustering. So here look at this diagram. Initially this is treated as a data set, single data set. Again, based on some similarities, we are dividing this data set into clusters, two clusters, right? Here we are coming up with this cluster, okay, this cluster, and second cluster is located here. Again, in this clusters, there is one more cluster, right? Now G is here and G we have taken here. Again, in this is treated as a separate cluster, and H and I are denoted here, J and K are I and H are denoted here, and these two are belonging to one cluster. So these two are belonging to one cluster, and this cluster is related to a point, data point called G. So it is showing this relationship between the clusters. So all these data points belong to this particular cluster. So this cluster is shown as a tree, top down tree. So similarly, this is for A, B, C, D, E, F. So what do you understand by this? It shows the data flow. It shows the relationship between the data points. So we use dendrogram to observe the output of the algorithm, clustering algorithm. So here hierarchical clustering. Hierarchical clustering, here data points are arranged into hierarchy. There are two methods, agglomerative clustering and divisive clustering. Agglomerative clustering. What is agglomerative clustering? It is a bottom-up approach. So what do we do? Here in this diagram, you saw, what is this? Is it a top-down or bottom-up? It's a top down, right? It's a top down. And how bottom up looks? Here all these come first, and finally you will have one data set. It's the inverse of this dendrogram. So here, what is agglomerative? It's the bottom up approach. So here, what do you see? What do you understand by this? What is being done here? Yes. There are 6 data points here, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. Initially, every data point is treated as an individual cluster, right? Individual cluster. And at each step, we look for the similarities. So now this is bottom up in the sense we take the individual data points, then look for the similarities, then keep them merging into clusters, and this process is repeated until we get one data set. So here, what is this algorithm? First step, we calculate the similarity of one cluster with all other clusters. That is, we calculate the proximity matrix. Here, actually, the process begins. Considers every point as an individual cluster. Merge clusters which are of similar characteristics together. Fourth one, recalculate the proximity matrix for each cluster. Repeat steps 3 and 4 until you end up with a single cluster. So now, how do you see the output? You use a graphical representation using a dendrogram. So now look at this. There are 6 data points. Okay, there are 6 data points. Okay, is it visible now? Okay, there are 6 data points, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, now step 1, as per the algorithm, consider each alphabet as a single cluster. Then calculate the distance of one cluster from all other points in the cluster. Second step is compare the clusters of similar characteristics and group them. And third one, what is the third one? Repeat steps 2 and 3. So now here, initially there are 6 data points. All these points are considered as separate characteristics. Now let us say cluster B and cluster C have similar properties. That is why we merge them. We may merge them in the second step. This is in the second step. And here we are left with, after the second step, we are left with A, B, C, okay, A, B, C, D, E and F. Next, in third step, what we do? We recalculate the proximity, in the sense distance. We'll solve the problems later. Okay, we recalculate the proximity according to the algorithm and then merge the clusters. Which clusters will merge now? D. Look for the similarity. Assume that this cluster, DE cluster, has similarities with F cluster. So merge this DEF cluster. Then what is how many clusters we are left with in the third step? A, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. Next, step 4. Step 4, repeat the same process. The clusters D, E, F and B, C are comparable and we'll merge them together into this cluster. Okay. Next, now we are left with B, C, D, E, F and A. So now what we do? This cluster is comparable with this cluster and we end up merging this into one cluster. So at the last, the two remaining clusters A and B, C, D, E, F are merged together to form a single cluster. This is how the concept works. This is a this is a bottom-up approach. You are beginning with individual data points and ending with a single data set. So here, what do you say? What is the main idea? Here it is, this type of relation is many to one. Here we can consider, have you studied graph theory? No issues. It is many to one. It is considering many data points and finally combining into one cluster. This is how agglomerative clustering works. So this is another example where the data points, each data point is treated as an individual cluster. They are indicated with different cluster and we keep on merging these data points based on their similarities and finally end up with one cluster. This is bottom up. Second one is divisive clustering. This is exactly opposite of the agglomerative clustering. It is top down. What does it do? It takes data set as one cluster and keeps on bifurcating the data set into different clusters based on the similarities until we are left with data points. Each data point is considered as a cluster. Okay. Now initially all the data points data set belongs to one cluster. Bifurcate them. So yes, what is happening here? Right? Isn't it? So this is top down. Initially, data set is considered as a single cluster. Then look for the similarities. Then divide that cluster into two subclusters, again based on characteristics or similarities. Further, keep dividing this until you end up with getting these data points. So each data point, each of these data points is treated as a cluster. This is top-down approach. Here, initially, one data set is taken, then keep on dividing until we get data points. These data points are treated as clusters or leaf nodes. This is top-down approach. And here we keep on splitting the clusters at each step. Hence, the name is divisive hierarchical clustering. Next, algorithm, steps to perform clustering. So what we basically do, first we look for the similarities. That is, we take the distance between the centroids of these clusters. The points having least distance are referred to as similar points, and we can combine them. And we use distance based algorithm since we are calculating the distance between the cluster. And a matrix called proximity matrix. This matrix is used to record the distances between each point. Okay, now we'll begin with the problem. Hierarchical clustering. It's a problem or numeric under hierarchical clustering. So I think you know the difference between supervised learning, unsupervised learning before we start off with hierarchical clustering. So what is the main difference between supervised learning and unsupervised learning? This is the common question asked in Viva.
In supervised learning, labeled data is available. In unsupervised, it's not available.
Okay. What are the examples of supervised learning and unsupervised learning?
K-NN regression are for supervised, and clustering algorithms are for unsupervised.
So
Okay.
I have something to say. So when you say label data, so here is where I found some thing. So many of you told labeled and unlabeled. Only few of you actually understand what is labeled and unlabeled data. Can one of you say what do you mean when you say labeled data? And what do you mean when you say unlabeled? One of you should say that.
Actually, ma'am, labeled data means like the target variable that we have to predict, that is already present, and that is the label that is being called in the supervised. In unsupervised, we don't have that target label.
Yes. So please understand this difference at least when you say labeled and unlabeled. So when you say labeled data, you have the target or the what you're going to predict. Like say for example, classification and regression, when you say it is supervised. So when you say classification, say we have certain patient details and we say the patient has cancer. So maybe I have 1,000 data already available with me, and I also have the information whether the patient has cancer or not. So that what you're going to predict is your label. So when I say predicting the patient has cancer or not, that is your label, and that is also present in your training data. Whereas if it was an unsupervised approach, you don't know, you just have some 1,000 patients details. We don't know whether cancer present or not, etc. is what we are going to predict, and such kind of things are not there in your unsupervised. So at least that is why you say there is no labeled data. There is no label at all. We don't know. We just have some data in your unsupervised, whereas supervised you have label. That is what he is now. He was just telling. So the target. So if it is regression, some continuous value would be there. If it's a classification problem, there will be some categories would be present, but the output is also there in your training data. So the model learns from the input output some kind of a relationship, and it tries to predict when a new sample is given. Whereas in unsupervised, it is not there. It simply learns something from the data. Hope it is clear. We have discussed it multiple times. I am repeating it again because it is bad for us also when you say you still don't understand the difference between supervised and unsupervised after handling machine learning for one full semester. Hope it is clear. If anybody has any doubt or no, I mean, there is no, some clarity is not there in this, please ask now so that I'll explain it again. Yes, Beena ma'am, I think you can continue. Ma'am, I think you are on mute, Beena ma'am.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, now I don't think we can finish this problem. We are solving numerical. I will solve that numerical in the next class. So is it clear everyone, as Priyanka madam explained, label data, unlabeled data? If you have any question, please come forward and get your doubts clarified. Can you give a real-time example of supervised learning and unsupervised learning? Anybody? This is question answer session. Yes, give us real-time examples of supervised learning and unsupervised learning.
Ma'am, face recognition in our mobile phone, like it needs to have some kind of label saying this is the person whom this belongs to, and the face belongs to, and the second class saying it is not. So it becomes a binary classification with the label. Now, when new user tries to use it, it basically compares and predicts if it is this or not, something like that.
Okay, good. Any other examples? Other students?
Ma'am, you call out some names.
Yeah, I will randomly call out.
Yeah. Let them tell some simple example. It's fine, even if it is a mistake, we can correct. But we want them to say something.
Yes.
At
They
least
should
know
come
that
forward.
people are there. Yeah.
Yes, they should come forward.
So call somebody,
Varun?
ma'am. No problem. You see the list and call.
Yes. Varun? Bilkanti Varun?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, you are there. Yes, give us real-time examples of supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, in case of cancer classification of a mole, that comes under supervised learning, ma'am. Whether it is a cancer-causing mole or not.
Okay.
Benignant or malign mole.
Okay. Unsupervised?
Unsupervised is like from a given data, like some prices of phones and the customers who have bought the phones, and we can get the data whether he's going to buy the phone or not, something like that. From like
Okay.
using some clusterings, we can find some
You
patterns.
repeat, Varun, can you just repeat? So what do you have in the data? Prices and?
The past billing, ma'am. Whoever has bought the phones, whether he's going to likely buy the phone again or not in the given period or not.
Okay. That is unsupervised.
Yes, ma'am.
I think he's trying to bring out a market basket kind of a thing. Is that what you meant, Varun?
Yes, ma'am.
Priyanka, just now I gave an example of iPhone 13. Okay, I think I'm happy that he is attentive and he listened to my lecture. Okay. Next, Madhuri. Thank you, Varun. Madhuri. Madhuri doesn't seem to be here in the class.
I-
Madhuri. Yes, okay. Question, you know the question, right? What are
Yes.
supervised and unsupervised learning techniques? Examples, real-time examples.
Okay, so under supervised, as far as I remember, I don't exactly remember right now. I don't exactly remember, ma'am, but if you've under supervised, I remember regression and classification, but unsupervised, I don't remember exact under that.
Okay. Monish, okay, fine. Monish, I think he's not there. His presence is showing.
Already 83 has become 71 when we start asking.
Yes, yes.
See, you have the right to say you don't know. It's fine. It's not a viva.
Yes, it is not a Viva now. It is just a discussion. It's a kind of sharing your knowledge with your classmates. Monish is not there.
Yeah, hello, ma'am.
Monish?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, yes. Yeah. What are supervised and unsupervised techniques? Give us real-time examples. You can discuss with your classmates now.
Ma'am?
Yes, go on.
Ma'am, can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Oh, you joined the meeting just now.
No, ma'am, no.
Yes. What are supervised and unsupervised learning techniques? Give us real-time examples of both.
Ma'am, like supervised example, we can say classification of that cancer patients, ma'am. That would be example for supervised learning. And unsupervised.
How is it supervised learning cancer patients data?
Ma'am?
How is it supervised? On what basis you say that it is supervised learning technique?
Yeah, ma'am, just. Ma'am, like generally, like as I have read, ma'am, so one of the best example could be like this classification of cancer will be like it will be categorized into supervised learning, ma'am. Why? Because it will be having some labels, ma'am. Also, and that it will be that the data will be labeled data, ma'am. So we can
explain on
classify
that.
Ma'am?
Yeah, you're saying labeled data. Just now we had that discussion. Can you tell me what is the label in that, your data? You have 1,000 cancer patients data. And now how do you say it is labeled or not labeled? You want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you are saying about cancer patients. So assume that we have 1,000 cancer patients data. Now, how do you say it is labeled or unlabeled?
Ma'am, like it will be like the target value will be having the data, no, ma'am. So
say an example, no? In this itself. First you say what is the target and say when it is labeled.
like I'm not very sure of it, ma'am. But
yeah, this is the problem. This is why we ask you to attend the classes. I'm not talking about you. It is when I asked Viva, I understood many of you are not clear with what is labeled and unlabeled. No, I'm not just telling yours. You just told it now, that's okay. But others also, it was the same. So when we say labeled, unlabeled, now same example. Yeah, you wanted to say how it is labeled?
Ma'am, like every tuple, there will be a label, ma'am.
So in this case, what could be that?
In this particular case, ma'am, like, yeah, like you said that data, no, ma'am. So each and every, like you said, like there will be
1,000 patients details.
So it will be having like each and every tuple in that will be having a label, ma'am. So it will compile an error, ma'am. So then there will be that back propagation.
Where are you going? What? Where are we? What is my question? Where are you? You are into neural networks. Back propagation and all. Where did it come into picture now? So my question is, we are saying about cancer patients details, and I have 1,000 patients details. Now, how do you say whether the data is labeled or not labeled? So how do you say is, I'll tell you now, you can listen. I already told, I'll repeat. So when you say that, now since it is cancer patient details, if say we are going to predict whether they have cancer or not. So that is our prediction. So which means our label would be say cancer equal to yes, cancer equal to no. So that is the labels what we say. Now, if your data has that information, that is 1,000 patients, for them, it is also mentioned whether they have cancer or no. So each patient, each tuple, as you mentioned, will have the target value or the label, which is cancer is present or cancer is absent. So cancer is your class label or the label or the target, and the values it could take is yes or no in this case, 2 values. Now this is your label. Now in your data, if you have for these 1,000 patients, if you have that information in your data itself, then it is supervised, because the output also is known to the model when you give it. You know that the patient is having say height, weight, etc. this much, and say other parameters like say sugar or maybe say some other parameters related to cancer, whatever tests what we do. So all these parameters are there, the values would be there. And in the end, you will also have whether that patient had cancer or not. So you know the input, that is some features of the patient, and you know the output, which is the patient has cancer or not. Like this, you have 1,000 data. Now this is supervised and it is classification. Now supervised because the label or the output is known in the data itself, given in the data itself. So it's a labeled data. So this is how you say it is supervised. Now, if that is not present, you don't know what you're going to predict. You don't know that you're going to predict whether the patient has cancer or not. Simply, you have some 1,000 patient details, but you don't know what is the label or what is the class, what you're going to predict. So that information is not known to you. You simply know some 1,000 patient details. Maybe their height, weight, blood test values, all are there, but you don't have a specific target or output mentioned in that. So then it is unlabeled data. The same data we are talking, okay? So one is unlabeled, one is labeled. So that way you should differentiate when you say about labeled and unlabeled. So now when you don't have that information of your label or target, you say it's unlabeled, and it is supervised approach when unsupervised techniques when you try something. And if it is labeled, when you say that is your target value or the output is also there mentioned in the data, so the model knows the input and the output. It is just trying to establish some relation between them. So that is when it is supervised. So if the output variable is like say cancer percent yes or no, 2 categories, then it is a classification problem. But what if say there is some size of the tumor? So that would be some continuous values, then it is a regression problem. So this is how you have to properly differentiate what is this. Is it clear now? Who was the student? I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Anybody else who has some confusion in this? Did I make some confusion, or you are more clear, or you are still in the same? Anything you can just tell. This is like ABCD of machine learning. If this is not clear, everything is a failure. Because when you get...
even if you go abroad for your higher studies, you will have to face interviews from the universities. They will ask this question. Everywhere, nowadays, everywhere, across the globe, machine learning, AI, deep learning, these are the buzzwords you get to hear. right? So this is a simple basic question. If you still not, if you are not clear about this concept still, let us know. Okay. I think
So that is
Priyanka.
why when you get a data set, you are supposed to identify whether it's a, that was your task when you took up a project. That was your first task. Whether this is a supervised or unsupervised, whether we have a labeled data or not. Now, if it is labeled, whether it's a classification problem or a regression problem, whether we have discrete values or continuous values. So these things are the basic questions what you would ask when you get a data. Okay. So in this, if you still have doubts, you personally ping us and get it clarified, because please don't have a confusion in this step at least. I think we are ahead of time.
Yes. Okay, we'll solve numericals in the next class.
Thank you, everyone. And if anything in this basic thing, if still not clear now or later, personally, you can ping us and ask and get it clarified. Don't keep that doubt again still continuing. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.